Hey there, greetings everybody. I want to welcome you here to Prog Monster. My name is Murph. I am the host of this show, a show dedicated to progressive rock and other forms of rock music. So today we're back for Wednesday night's favorites episode, one of my favorite shows to do. Apparently it's one of the ones most people like on the channel as well. We're going to do something we've done twice before already. We did 2 episodes on this, and now we're doing a third one. So this is another 5 albums that lived up to their reputation. We've done 2 episodes, one called 5 albums that lived up to their reputation, the other one called 5 more albums that lived up to their reputation, and now this is another 5 albums that have lived up to their reputation. I could probably do more episodes, and I might, but for today we're just doing this one. So I've picked 5 albums that basically what happens is that people make recommendations. Oh, you should own this, or you should hear this, or you hear a lot about some album all the time, and you say, okay, you go and you buy it, and you put it on, and you listen to it, and you say, that isn't what people hype this, and it's not even that good. How many times has that happened to you? It's happened to me a few times, but none of these albums have suffered that. I've had nothing but they've either lived up to the reputation or they've been better than I thought they were going to be. So we're going to do them in no particular order. It just worked out that the first 2 start with a C and the last 3 start with an S. So I don't know how that happened. It just happened that way. So this album, the first one we're going to do, is one that, of course, I've done quite a bit on this album on this channel. It's been a champion in one thing. It's been on greatest list hits. It's been on just about anything that there's a top something that's in its category. It's in there, and here it's going to go again. Supertramp, Crime of the Century, absolutely killer album. Everybody told me when I bought Breakfast in America, and I was listening to it all the time, and they said, "Oh, you got to listen to Crime of the Century. It's better." I said, no, there's no way it's better. I said, this is a fantastic album. I absolutely adore this album. It's the best ever. They said, no, this one's better. And so I went into it with this closed mind. Oh yeah, it's better. Well, we'll show them it's not better. And I got the album, and guess what? It's better. Surprise! As good as Breakfast in America is, and I love it, this album is just off the charts. The production, fantastic. The music, fantastic. The vocal performance by both singers, fantastic. The album cover itself, great. There's just everything to love about this album and nothing to not like. You've got some of their best songs are on this. I'm sorry, I'm getting the shakes for some reason today. You've got School starting this album out, so good. Sorry, it's got a little twick in it. Is there any song that starts out as good as that on any album? Very few albums have a song that they start out with such a fantastic tune. This album is just proliferated with great tracks. I think both Davies and Hodgson both have some absolutely killer vocals on this album. Some of the best vocals that they've done are on this album. Rudy, great track, wonderful track, I think. And you've got The Dreamer, which is one of the great songs by the band overall. Big hit, well liked. Bloody Well Right, another really great track. This one, Davey singing, really cool. And of course, Hide in Your Shell, the Roger Hodgson song. This is one of the more underrated tracks in their discography, but it's such a great song for a longer time than I care to remember. This track was my favorite on this album, but just so many great songs. Crime of the Century itself, the title track, beautifully well done. You could go on and on about the tracks on this album, but it's enough to say that this album vastly exceeds one of the albums that was highly recommended, that probably exceeds even that and beyond anything that I could have imagined. I had no qualms about saying this is one of the greatest albums of all time. So Supertramp's Crime of the Century. That's the first one. So the next one up I don't own. And it's not through lack of trying to find it for a good price, but I just haven't found it yet. But it'll eventually come, I know it. It's an album from an Australian band that was given to me on Ben's Album Challenge. It's also been in one of the hard rock Battle of the Bands series. They have more than one good album, this band, but this is probably the best album. It's called Choice Cuts from Master's Apprentices. This is a killer album. Every track on this album is memorable. Every track on this album is heavy, it's catchy. Instrumentation is absolutely killer on this album. The vocals are really good. Album cover itself is good with the big chair, you know. Yeah, just a really good, solid album. People highly recommended this album to me. Ben told me I would love this album. I didn't know if I would. I didn't think I would. And then it's vastly exceeded anything I could have possibly imagined as far as being such a great album. Definitely an album it's a must-own album for my collection. Must-own. You know, I've had those 10 albums that you must own, 10 progressive albums you must own. This is one of those albums, not a progressive album, but a must-own album. If you like rock music, you will absolutely adore this album. I highly recommend it. It will vastly exceed your expectations. So that's my number 2. Number 3, the first of the S albums, I'm going to call them. This is an album that first time I heard of this was on Sea of Tranquility, and Pete was talking about how good this album was, that it was his favorite by this group, and I thought, it looks interesting, but I couldn't imagine it being better than the album that I owned by them already. I only owned one at the time, and then I bought a second one that I bought. I ordered it online, and I played that. I thought that was great too. Then this one was the third album that I bought 2 of them at the same time, and this was the third one. And so I started playing it, and this has so greatly exceeded what I thought it would be like. And it didn't start out that way. This was one of the few albums that I wasn't sure about it, and then when I listened to it, I still wasn't sure about it. But every track on this album has absolutely killer, just really had such an impact on me. I love the cover of this Messerschmitt 262, world's first jet. Yeah, so catchy. Such a beautiful cover, well drawn. I love it. Career of Evil. What an opening track. Great. Subhuman. Fantastic. Dominance. Submission. And they argue back and forth. So good. Then the Messerschmitt 262. Really good. Cagey Cretins. Another good one. Harvest of Eyes. Flaming Telepaths. Wow, what a killer track. And then Astronomy, which I think may be their best. It might be my favorite Blue Oyster Cult song, period. And then, you know, on this one comes with some bonus tracks, this particular album. And you can see them here. Borman, The Chauffeur, and Mommy. Really killer tracks. The rest of the stuff's good too. Born to Be Wild, their cover of that is kind of interesting. But Mommy is one of my favorite songs by Blue Oyster Cult. So this album is a killer. If you haven't listened to Blue Oyster Cult, I highly recommend this be your first one. And if you have listened to Blue Oyster Cult but you haven't bought this one, you're missing out. This is a great track. Of those the black and white albums, this I think is easily the best one and so outstanding. So Blue Oyster Cult's Secret Treaties. Next up, another album I've been looking to get, haven't got a chance to get it, haven't seen it. Was going to order it online, but I don't like ordering online, so I try to find stuff first before I order stuff online. So I get a bit of a sleepy eye here today. I don't know why. And it's an album I did last year for What's New. It's an album I've listened to quite a bit now. Really killer tracks on it. Very Zeppelin-ish, but uniquely different as well. It's got that really kind of Indian, well, I wouldn't say it's Indian, but it gets a Kashmir kind of sound to a lot of their tracks. We're talking about Starcatcher from, sorry, caught my throat, from Greta Van Fleet. Such a good, solid album. Has exceeded, like people told me, oh, you got to listen to this album, you'll really like it. If you like Zeppelin, you're going to like this album. If you like Zeppelin but you want something more modern and with a different kind of feel to it and with their own sound to it, you'll really like this album. And I thought, okay, well, you know, and I'd heard about these guys for a while. It wasn't like they were new to me. And so I listened to this album and I absolutely adore it. I think it's fantastic. I'm looking forward to getting it, and I also like to go back in their discography and listen to more of their stuff as well. So Starcatcher from Greta Van Fleet is the 4th album for today. I purposely saved this last album for the end because it's comes highly recommended as one of the great albums by this band. Now I've loved the albums by this band. Trust me, I've really liked a couple of their later albums quite a bit. Well, they're mid-range albums. But this one I hadn't listened to, and people say this is their best, or one of their best. And so I took it with me one day. I bought it, and then I was sitting there. I was waiting its turn, and then I said, you know, I'm going visit a friend. So I took it, and I had taken 3 or 4 albums with me to listen to on the way there. And this one I ended up playing it like 3 times, and one of the albums didn't get listened to. So we're talking about Judas Priest, Stained Class. Killer album, heavy as hell. So many memorable Priest songs on here. I think Robert Halford is at his best on this, or one of his best on this album. For a studio album, this has got so much energy. Exciter, oh my God, killer song. White Heat, Red Hot, yep. Better by You, Better Than Me. Oh, that track, underrated. One of my favorite Priest tracks now. I love it. Stained Class, another great track. Invader itself, so cool. Saints in Hell, yes, absolutely. Savage, Beyond the Realms of Death, wow. And then Hero's End. And then you've got a couple of bonus tracks here. Fire Burns Below and Better You, Better Than Me. The live version is even better than the first version. Yeah, this is a killer album. I really love the cover too. Has vastly exceeded what I thought it was going to be like. I thought it was going to be more like Rock and Rolla or some of the other little earlier stuff, which was good, but didn't really meet my expectations from Screaming for Vengeance. But this album is so good. It is absolutely killer. I'm hoping that the rest of the stuff that came from the earlier era is just as good as this, but I can't imagine anything being better than it. So, Stained Class from Judas Priest. If you like heavy metal, this is where it is, baby. This is where it is. So there you have it. 5 albums that, or another 5 albums that far exceeded my expectations, and have exceeded their reputation by quite a bit. And just one more reiteration: Crime of the Century from Supertramp, Choice Cuts from Master's Apprentice, Secret Treaties from Blue Oyster Cult, Starcatcher from Greta Van Fleet, and Judas Priest, Stained Class. Yeah. So I hope you've enjoyed this video as much as I did doing it. Maybe you could put some of your favorites that have exceeded your expectations in the comment section below, and maybe I'll do another video if some of them remind me of stuff that I forgot. That would be great. So anyways, I hope you Hope you have a good day. Don't forget to hit the notification bell, and we will see you next Wednesday night for another episode of Favorites. So take care and have a good one. Bye.